You're being
Are we going?
so rude.
Okay, ready?
Ready?
What the
Let me
fuck?
calm
Okay, ready?
Shush. Hi, I'm Jackie.
I'm Sydney.
I'm Abby.
And I'm Ramise, and together we are
The History Mythbusters.
And our first story is coming to you live from the Plymouth Rock Observatory in Boston, Massachusetts.
Ramise and Sydney are there on the scene to show you all the action.
Hi, Ramise and Sydney here, reporting to you live from Plymouth Rock.
On the contrary to popular belief, Plymouth Rock is about a third of the size it actually was in the 1620s.
In 1620, Plymouth Rock allegedly weighed 10 tons, while today it no longer weighs that much and is only about 100 pounds.
Shocking, right? Children seem to have many misconceptions about the actual size.
If you look back here, you can actually see how tiny Plymouth Rock actually is.
Up until 1741, the rock was unnoticed until there was an interest in building over the area. A man, 94 years old, whose father landed on Plymouth Rock, told the town about the significance of the rock, and from then on, the rock has been preserved.
That's all we have here today. Back to Jackie and Abby in the studio with more news.
Our next story also deals with the arrival of the Pilgrims and the actual story of Thanksgiving.
Everyone knows the story of how desperate and weak the Pilgrims were, and how the Native Americans came along to help the Pilgrims farm. Because of how thankful the Pilgrims were together, they had a huge feast, celebrating the crops that were harvested.
In memory of how thankful they were, the story continues with the Pilgrims and the Native Americans celebrating the feast each year. Cute story, right?
Well, too bad it's completely false.
The Native Americans didn't actually help the Pilgrims. There was no evidence that Squanto actually taught them how to farm.
The Native Americans were very barbaric towards the Pilgrims. They really didn't get along too well.
Also, another common thought is that every year the Pilgrims celebrated and had this feast, when in reality, the holiday Thanksgiving wasn't officially a thing until 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln declared it a national holiday.
Additionally, many of the foods today that we think of as traditional Thanksgiving foods were not ever used during the Pilgrims' feasts. One of the misconceptions is that the Pilgrims ate turkey. They didn't. They ate deer and other animals that they could hunt, but turkey was not one of them.
Thanks, Abby and Jackie, for that interesting news story about Thanksgiving.
Next, Sydney and I will be talking about the Underground Railroad.
Think back to first grade when you began learning about slavery and the Civil War. Your teacher probably talked about how great Harriet Tubman was and all the things she did for the slaves.
Teacher Pye then went on to talk about the Underground Railroad. As a 7 or 8 year old, when someone tells you that the slaves used the Underground Railroad, you probably assumed it was an actual railroad underground.
Teachers seemed to leave out the part about it not actually being either of those things. The Underground Railroad was a system of locations used to hide slaves during the day, and then at night they would run to the next location.
There was no underground passageway, which most adolescents thought, but more like secretive houses in small areas inside of their homes used to hide people.
Harriet Tubman was the conductor of the Underground Railroad. She made approximately 19 trips back and forth from the South to rescue most of her family and friends from slavery. This is extremely dangerous and would probably result in death if she would ever caught.
The Underground Railroad got its name from slaves using railway jargon to communicate with one another. The various places the slaves would stop at were called stations. The route continued through 14 northern states and ended in Canada.
Many people are also taught that the Quakers and the Methodists were large supporters in the Underground Railroad system, when in reality it was mostly free black northerners that helped.
Wow, how interesting!
Well, that's all for tonight, folks.
Thank you for tuning in on tonight's episode for History Mythbusters.
We hope you learned a little more about the Plymouth Rock, the Pilgrims, and the Underground Railroad.
Please join us next week for more history myths to be busted.
Thanks for watching! The bloopers are going to be the best part.
Ready?
The only blonde ones.
Okay, explains a lot.
To you live from the Plymouth Rock Observatory.
Stop, that was good. I can cut that out.
Okay, that's a
No, I missed the whole History Mythbuster. Hi.
Are we going?
Yes.
Crayon.
Our next.
It's crayon!
Mr. Slav told me it's crayon.
It's
It's a
Y
crayon.
silent.
No, it's a crayon.
No, it's
crayon.
crayon. Sydney, remember when
Yarn.
he told me he gave me a light bulb during the little headbands game and said you need to lighten
With your
up?
glasses. Shut up. I'm literally gonna stab you with these scissors.
That's aggressive.
Go!
Shush.
Toronto.
Squanto.
Say that line again. Ready? Go.
Johnson, you have to be quiet.
The name
Don't yell at him.
Thanks, Abby and Jackie.
Why? Don't like that one. Just shoot the whole house. Guys, you're your house. Mama, stop.
I have to edit that out. Oh.
Which is what most adolescents. Why do you put the word adolescence in
Mine
mind?
has to sound like
In mind. She put adolescence in, but she couldn't give it to like Abby.
that's it.
Is that Harriet Tubman?
Scene.
Am I dressing as Harriet Tubman?
If you watch it,
Can I be her?
Hey!
It's facing me.
That was like right at my face. You're kidding me.
Hi, Mom and Dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. I have a
That's all we have here. That's all we have here today.
Oh.
That's all we have here today.